Hey Astro Kids, and welcome back. This is your April 2020 horoscope for Gemini Sun, Moon, or Rising. So before I get into the cards, I'd like to take a look at the major planetary shifts of April. And so if you enjoyed this, feel free to leave a like as well as a comment. If you are new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell. And the first planetary shift we have here is on April 3rd when Venus enters Gemini. And this is a huge deal, especially for you, Gemini. This is entering your home sign. And so whether you are Gemini Rising, Gemini Sun, or Gemini Moon, you will feel this major shift of Venus entering Gemini. And this is going to be a very, very long transit as Venus is going to retrograde in Gemini. So we will see this Venus and Gemini energy play out until July. So this is a huge deal. And so as Venus enters into Gemini here, which we will see it enter today in just a couple of hours as I'm recording this, this is making the aspect over to Pluto conjunct Jupiter in Capricorn. And for many of you, this conjunction of Pluto and Jupiter is sitting in your 8th house of secrets, insecurities, fears, sex, intimacy, right? All of these things hidden deep behind the scenes, even inheritances and shared resources with others. So very deep emotional space that this Pluto-Jupiter conjunction is sitting in. And this is a very interesting conjunction. We're going to talk about when Jupiter actually makes the exact conjunction, which will happen tomorrow on the 4th of April. However, this is the first time that we're seeing Pluto make a conjunction with Jupiter in Capricorn without Saturn. Saturn has moved on into Aquarius. And so this, for a lot of you, can feel like a weight is being lifted off of this area of your life, this very private, very personal area of these things deeper, more hidden beneath the scenes. However, Jupiter is here to expand upon this transformation. And we're going to talk about this more as Pluto does station retrograde in a conjunction with Jupiter. So we will see Pluto station retrograde when Jupiter crosses over Pluto. And so Pluto is not going to catch up with Saturn this time around, right? We saw that major conjunction of Pluto and Saturn at the beginning of the year in January. We're not going to see it again in Capricorn. However, Jupiter will catch up to Saturn, and we're going to see it catch up to Saturn in Aquarius, right? So it's moving into this new space. So be aware that Saturn sitting in Aquarius, even though, yes, it will retrograde back into Capricorn, we have already started to step into this new space, this new reality of Saturn in Aquarius, even though, yes, it will go back into Capricorn again. It's not going to be the same, right? We have completely moved on from this energy of this tight conjunction of Jupiter and Pluto and Saturn and the South Node all conjoined in to Capricorn. We have completely cleared out that energy. And so this is very different. This can feel like a major weight is being lifted in this area of your life. However, this is taking you through a very, very big transformation in this area as well. A transformation that will help you grow and expand in this area of intimate connections, of your private matters, of your shared resources. So major changes that are happening in this area for many of you, dealing with the resources, the assistance that you're receiving from others, the intimate connections that you're having with others, and these more deeper, more private areas within your life. Now, with this aspect over to Saturn in Aquarius, Saturn is making the conjunction to Mars. And this is sitting in your 9th house. And so this is in your house of philosophy, belief systems, higher education, learning, experience. And so there is a duty, a responsibility in terms of your belief systems, in terms of what you are open to learning and experiencing in your life, and making sure that it is something that truly is beneficial not only to you, but to humanity, right? For many of you, Aquarius is sitting in your 9th house. And so, very much so for those of you with Gemini rising, that your experience is going out into humanity, into the world, connecting with many different walks of life. And so, what is your duty? What is your responsibility at this time to serve humanity? This is also making an aspect over to Mercury, which is conjoined with Neptune in Pisces. And we are going to see Mercury speed up ahead. Mercury is out of its shadow phase. It's gained its speed back. It's going to go ahead and pass through Pisces. However, as it's sitting here in this conjunction with Neptune, this can create a lot of confusion, a lot of fear, a lot of insecurity, a lot of doubt within your career, right? For many of you, this is Pisces sitting on your midheaven, sitting in your house of career, of status, of reputation, of how you're being seen and perceived in the public eye. And so this is a time where you really want to utilize this Neptune energy in a positive way and not in a negative way, right? And in my experience, Neptune is a malefic planet, right? Even though Neptune is here to break the physical boundaries so that we can have this spiritual connection and this magical opportunity in our lives, Neptune also is blurring the lines of what reality is, right? Because Neptune is here to break through that physical reality. And so Neptune can pull you away from reality and pull you into fear and illusion and doubt and worry, and really get you into these addictive behaviors, these escapist behaviors, right? And so it's very important that we are utilizing this daydreamy, imaginative, spiritual, otherworldly energy in a positive way and not in a negative way. And so it is time for you to create a positive story here in your public life. It's time for you to imagine something greater, something that serves you in your career for some of you, in just your interaction with the public, in the legacy that you are trying to leave behind. This is also making an aspect over to Chiron and the Sun in Aries, right? And we saw the Sun make that conjunction with Chiron as it moved into Aries at the beginning of Aries season. And now the Sun has backed off of Chiron. It has moved forward along However, there is something big about this Chiron in Aries that is the ultimate breakdown of the ego, that is the ultimate breakdown of identity. And for those of you with Gemini rising, your sense of identity is very much tied to and connected to your social life. And so with Aries sitting in your 11th house of friends, of social groups and organizations, right? Many of you connecting to trailblazers, to confident individuals, individuals who can teach you to move forward in your life, right? Many of you connecting with these very daring, straightforward, bold leader type of individuals in your social life. However, there is something big that is the breakdown of that, that is showing you that you can connect to more sensitive, more compassionate people in your life, that you can focus on family over what is the goal, what am I going to do and take care of at this time. And so there is this feeling of coming back home, coming back to your close connections, your deeper connections. And with the sun here, it is shining a light on this area that what does your social life look like? What are the people that you're connecting to? Is this about your passion, your drive, about moving forward, about taking on opportunities, or is this about your connection with others? Is this about your family? And the moon is sitting in your 3rd house of Leo, right? Leo is here in your 3rd house of communication, of intellect, of the mind, of your interaction with acquaintances, with neighbors, your familiar surroundings, right? This is the house that is all about the mind. And so as you are thinking and learning and communicating, the moon is sitting here where, again, this is pulling you towards family. This is pulling you towards the home, right? It's time to interact with your family, those closest to you, the home, right? This is pulling you more into an emotional space rather than an intellectual space. And so for those of you who are Gemini, very much on the mental plane, thinking, learning, communicating, this is a time to feel, to connect, to be closest to those who you are truly, deeply connected to. And we do have Juno sitting in Libra. So this is sitting in your 5th house, where many of you with Gemini rising especially are passionate about relationships, about communication, about the intellect, sharing your ideas, relating to others. And Juno is sitting here, where Juno is this asteroid of marriage, of commitment. And this is important because we are going to see a full moon that is making a conjunction to Juno. That is something that we will discuss in a future video, right? This is not on the list here, so we will discuss this major transit of the full moon in Libra in a separate video. But this is very powerful as it makes this conjunction over to this asteroid of marriage and commitment, that there is this extreme focus on relationships, on connecting with others. So let's take a look at this next major transit. This will be April 4th, right, tomorrow, where Jupiter makes the conjunction with Pluto. And we talked about this a little bit earlier. This is the exact conjunction So this is the exact moment Jupiter has crossed over Pluto, and now they are in this exact conjunction, which again is this transformation that will help expand your personal life, your intimate connections, right? This is an area of growing in this area of shared resources, shared connections, right? This very private, very intimate, very hidden part of your life. And so once again, there is this call to move away from this intellectual space and come into this emotional space of connecting and sharing and being a part of family. This is also making an aspect over to Venus in Gemini. Once again, Venus is going to spend a great deal of time in your own home sign of Gemini. Venus is here at 1 degrees, where it's time for you to relate to others. It's time for you to connect to others. It's time to be social. It's time to interact. It's time to build those deeper relationships with Venus sitting in your first house. And for many of you, this may be a time where you are focused on your appearance, where you are focused on your beauty, where you're focused on how others perceive you. And so very much putting relationships in the spotlight for those of you with Gemini rising. So there will be a separate video where I go over Venus in Gemini and how the retrograde will affect you. This is going to affect those of you big time who have Gemini or Sagittarius, right? This is majorly going to affect those with Gemini and Sagittarius, this Venus retrograde that is coming up next month. Now what's interesting here is that Venus is also making a square over to the moon in Virgo. And so there's a little bit of this inner conflict, right? Virgo is sitting in your house of home and family. For those of you with Gemini rising. And so there is this sort of conflict when it comes to relating to the world, relating to others around you, and having this deep, intimate connection to home and family. Right? And so we talked about this, how there is this responsibility to come back and connect to your family life, to build these deeper relationships and connections to home. So let's take a look at the next major transit. So this will happen on April 11th when Mercury enters Aries. And so Mercury has finally left Pisces, right? Mercury is in its worst position in Pisces, as Pisces is this mystical, daydreamy, imaginative, spiritual world. And Mercury is trying to understand through logic, through thought, through details, through communication. And so Mercury is very lost and confused in the world of Pisces. But now it is entering into Aries, where our way of thinking and communicating is shifting, right? Particularly for you, Gemini rising, in your public life, in your career, in the way that you are interacting with others around you. You're communicating in a more bold, more straightforward way, right? Much more upfront, things making more sense, more information and details coming to the surface. Now, Mercury is also making a square over to the North Node in Cancer. And notice that the North Node is at 1 degrees of Cancer. So the North Node is coming to that last point where where it is going to hit that critical degree, right? 0 degrees of Cancer, that critical degree before it shifts into your very own sign of Gemini. So we're going to see that early in May that the North Node will enter your sign of Gemini. Now with this, the North Node is making this critical point that now it is time to take care of those lessons of this North Node in Cancer, which is all about nurturing and building these deeper, more intimate connections, having this connection to home, to family, to comfort, to safety, right? Doing what is of the highest, greatest good to you and what is truly nurturing and beneficial to you in your life. And so with this North Node in Cancer getting to that last critical degree, this is an urgent moment of needing to figure out what is it that truly nurtures and serves you in your life. This is the last chance as it's coming down to this critical degree, right? This, from now to the end of April, is really your last moment, your last chance before the North Node shifts into Gemini to take care of the things that need to be nurtured and cared for and to really do what serves you and benefits you in your life. And keep an eye out for future videos where we will discuss the North Node entering Gemini. That is going to majorly affect those of you who are Gemini or Sagittarius. Right, so a lot that is coming that is going to majorly affect those of you with Gemini and Sagittarius, especially in your relationships, in the way that you are relating to others. Now, Mercury is also making a trine over to the moon in Sagittarius. And so this is where you can feel very restless, very adventurous, wanting to learn more, wanting to experience more. And this can be very frustrating, very challenging for you as we are in this very difficult time here where many are shut in, many are having to stay at home, that this restless energy can become very frustrating to those of you, especially who have Gemini rising. But many of you will also feel this if you have the Sun or the Moon in Gemini as well. As Gemini does have this natural restless curiosity, this Moon in Sagittarius is adding to it, wanting to question, wanting to adventure, wanting to know more, wanting to learn more. And so this can be a great time for you to read about something new, to study something new, to learn something new, to do that project that you put off. Right? This is a great time for exercise. This is a great time to get all of that energy out. Right? And this moon is sitting in your relationship house. So many of you, even more so, will want to expend this energy through conversation, through communicating, through connecting with others. And so this is very good for those of you who are still needing to learn this lesson of stepping away from the mind and connecting through the heart space, having this deeper, more intimate connection. Now, Mercury is also making an aspect over to Pluto and Jupiter conjoined, as well as Saturn and Mars conjoined. And so, once again, this is creating a lot of transformation in your intimate connections, right? Expansive transformation. This is helping you grow in this area of connecting to others on a deeper level. And also, as it is affecting this responsibility, this duty in humanity, in your experiences, right? For many of you, this is very much a time of sharing your experiences and your advice and your philosophy to help others on their journey. And this is coming out strong as this is making the aspect over to Mercury and Aries, right? Making the sextile over to Mercury and Aries, which is bringing this to the surface. Mercury is the messenger. It is here to tell you all about this duty and this responsibility that needs to get done. Now, keep in mind that Mercury is also making a conjunction to Lilith and Chiron. And so this can bring up a lot of fears, a lot of insecurities, a lot of deeper feelings and desires that need to be addressed. So let's take a look at the next major planetary shift, which will take place on April 19th when the Sun enters Taurus. And so as the Sun enters into Taurus, right away it makes a conjunction with Uranus. And so there are radical changes being made in this area, right? And this is sitting back in your 12th house, where you may not be aware of these radical changes that are being made. This is sitting in your house of unconscious desires, the subconscious mind, right? Your spiritual connection. This is the unseen, behind the scenes, suppressed feelings and thoughts. This is deep within the subconscious that these radical, extreme changes are being made. And as the Sun comes through here, this is making you consciously aware of these changes that have been going on behind the scenes for you. And so this is a time where you may come to the realization that these changes are happening for you behind the scenes, right? These are major changes that are working behind the scenes for you. And so for many of you, there are angels and spirit guides that are working behind the scenes to make extreme changes to help elevate you, to help you grow and expand in your life. So very much hidden, very much behind the scenes. This is also making a sextile over to the North Node in Cancer. Once again, that critical point of, okay, now it is time to do what is truly nurturing, to do what is truly beneficial to me on my journey. And for many of you, once again, this is something where you have to take that time for introspection, to take that time for meditation, to take that time to look deep within you to see, okay, what is it that I need to do to nurture myself, to benefit myself for my highest, greatest good, to have these deeper connections, to do what ultimately serves me to the highest emotional, spiritual level possible before this North Node leaves Cancer and moves into Gemini. And so this is big as the Sun enters into your 12th house, that for many of you, this is time to look within and to be aware of these changes that need to take place in order to serve your highest, greatest good. This is also making an aspect over to Jupiter and Pluto, as well as Saturn and Aquarius. This time it is not making the aspect over to Mars. Mars has moved on. It's about halfway through Aquarius, right? A much faster planet than Saturn. And so again, this is going back to your duties and your responsibilities in humanity in your experience, in your philosophy, in your belief systems, right? Gaining that duty and that authority in your belief systems. And also these major changes that are taking place in your deeper connections. So let's take a look at the next major transit. On April 22nd, we have a new moon in Taurus. And so this is starting us off on a brand new lunar cycle. And right away, this new moon is making a conjunction with Uranus in Taurus. And so, again, major changes that are happening behind the scenes. And with the moon in here, this is pulling your emotional drive into this area as well, right? This is something that you can feel, especially on an emotional level, that these deep subconscious changes are taking place and need to take place within your life, as it is making that sextile over to the North Node in Cancer, which notice that it is at 0 degrees of Cancer now. So the North Node is getting to that last moment, right? It's at its critical degree now, where this is urgent. This is this last moment of needing to take care of these deep changes that need to take place in order to serve your highest, greatest good. This is the last moment as the North Node is getting ready to enter into Gemini, into your very own sign. So this is big, and this will be a big moment when the North Node enters into your first house of your identity, of your image, of your perspective on life, of the way that you're presenting yourself to others. Now, this new moon is also making an aspect over to Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn once again. And so, keeping in mind this authority of your belief systems, your philosophies, what you're willing to share with humanity, what you're willing to experience and go through, as well as these changes that are going to help expand you and grow you in your deeper connections, in your shared resources, in your private life. This is also making the semi-sextile over to Neptune in Pisces. And again, for many of you, Pisces is sitting in your house of career, of status, of reputation, of how you're known in the public eye. And so with Neptune here, once again, what is your belief system at this time? What is influencing you and inspiring you in your public life, in your career? So keep in mind, if this is negative, this is not serving your purpose of that major change and transformation that needs to take place on a deeper level for those of you with Gemini rising. That keeping in mind that this is a positive influence, a positive inspiration that is motivating you to grow, to expand, to become a better version of yourself. So let's take a look at the next major planetary shift. So on April 25th, Pluto stations retrograde. And this is our first major retrograde besides the Mercury retrograde, right? And there is something big to say about how Mercury is your home planet, and we do tend to make a big deal out of Mercury retrograde. However, The other planets actually have a more intense retrograde than Mercury does. And so we tend to exaggerate when it comes to Mercury retrograde. And so keep in mind with this Pluto retrograde that this is more intense, right? This is a deep transformation in terms of your intimate relationships, in terms of how you're connecting to others on a deeper level. And so there's this very intense inner transformation that is taking place within you that is going to help you grow and expand in your personal connections, in your deeper, more intimate connections. And so this is very, very intense. This is very much pulling you out of the mind and really wanting you to connect in your heart, right? Pluto, keep in mind, is sitting in your 8th house. And the 8th house is the original home. This is where Pluto feels comfortable. This is about soul connection. This is about deeper connection. This is about intimacy. And so there is something to say about this for those of you with Gemini, that this is really trying to pull you out of your head and put you into your heart space so that you can experience deeper connections. Right, and we're going to talk about later on how that, in a future video, how that Venus retrograde is going to play into this big time. So keep that in mind, Gemini, that this is affecting your relationships in a very, very big way. Now, this is also making an aspect over to Mercury in Aries, which is making the conjunction over to Lilith. It is at those last degrees of Aries where it is starting to slow down, right? It has gone through this fast-paced, very direct, upfront, straightforward energy of Aries, where now it is operating on the last of its energy reserves as it starts to enter into Taurus, where Mercury in Taurus really wants us to slow down. And so with Mercury here at these last degrees of Aries, this is really this moment of starting to slow down your pace, starting to think more in terms of worth, in terms of the system, the structure in your life, in your way of thinking, in your security, right? And this is happening in your 11th house, your social interactions. And so, are these people that you are connecting to, are they serving this purpose of having this deeper connection, of having this connection that truly serves you in your life? And Mercury is here to tell you all about this, right? And this is a moment where you can receive news, information, where you can receive updates from friends, from those who you associate with in your public life. But Lilith is here to say, is this really what you desire? Is this really what you want at this deeper level? Is this a truly deep connection that actually serves you, that you actually want to be a part of? And so once again, there is this intense transformation that is taking place in your relationships. This is also making an aspect over to Chiron in Aries, as well as Neptune in Pisces. And so again, this can bring up a lot of fears, a lot of doubts, a lot of insecurities in your experience in life, in your journey, in the way that you are growing and expanding and climbing to the top of your success, of your status, of your reputation. And so make sure that the experiences that you are having are ones that are inspiring, lifting you up, bringing positivity into your life. So let's take a look at this next major transit, which will happen on April 27th when Mercury enters Taurus. Yes, Mercury is now in Taurus. So Mercury, coming off of that retrograde in Pisces, once it passed its shadow phase, it sped up. So Mercury is moving on through the signs. We will not see it retrograde again until the summer, when it stations retrograde in Cancer. Now Mercury sitting in Taurus now is having to slow down, now wanting you to think in a more methodical, planned out, systematic way that is beneficial to you. And keep in mind that this is sitting back in your 12th house with Uranus, with the Sun, where again, it is focused on these deeper changes that need to take place within you for that more intimate connection, for that deeper connection, for that more emotional, fulfilling experience of life. Right? So doing what serves and benefits you to the highest, greatest good, especially as it is making the sextile over to the North Node in Cancer, which is also conjoined by the Moon. Right? This is the last time that we will see the Moon with the North Node in Cancer, as the North Node is once again at that critical degree of getting ready to move into Gemini, into your very own sign. So this is it. This is that last time to take care of what is fully nurturing to you, what is fully emotionally fulfilling to you, what is of the truest, deepest connection to you. This is it. This is the last time to make this happen in your life, because the North Node is getting ready in early May to shift its way into Gemini. This is the spot where it is sitting at that last critical moment, that last urgent degree of really needing to take care of these deeper, more emotionally fulfilling connections. Now Mercury is also conjoined by Lilith, which can bring up deeper desires, deeper fears, deeper insecurities around this deeper connection that needs to take place. And so for those of you with Gemini rising who are still in this mental space, still afraid to make this last move to have these deeper, more intimate connections, this is a moment of needing to meditate, needing to have that deeper introspection, needing to go in and face those suppressed fears and feelings below the surface, because this is it, right? This is the last opportunity for you to really nurture your feelings, for you to really have that deeper connection. And it is making the aspect over to Pluto and Jupiter, which is very much in tune with this theme of having these more deeper, intimate, meaningful connections with others. And also making the aspect over to Saturn, which, keep in mind, is in a conjunction with Pallas Athena, which is at that last degree of Capricorn. And so I want you to pay attention to this Pallas Athena, as this is an asteroid that deals with wisdom and strategy. And so this is your coping strategy to deal with challenges, to deal with moments of adversity, to deal with difficulties, So Pallas is here sitting in between your 8th and your 9th house. And so how can you find something that works for you in terms of experiencing these deeper connections, right? Believing that you can have these deeper, more fulfilling connections with others, and stepping away from this intellectual space more into your heart space, right? This is a major theme here for those of you with Gemini rising, even for those of you with Gemini Sun and Moon, of really having these more deeper, more fulfilling connections, right? This is a big shift that you are entering into in terms of your relationships. And so, for many of you with Gemini, Sun, Moon, or Rising, and I will discuss this more in depth when I get into the Venus retrograde video, that this is a time of taking relationships and connections more seriously. So let's take a look at the cards. Starting off here, we have the Hierophant in reverse. And so there is something big to say here about your belief systems, your values, that they are changing in a big way, and that this is calling for you to focus on what is truly of the highest value. Where are you finding your belief and your faith in? Does it serve you? Right? And that is that Saturn sitting in Aquarius, which is farming this new experience, right? And this world card goes along with it, where this is no longer about relying on the world around you. This is about finding that inner authority in your belief systems, in your experiences, right? Remember that Saturn has left your 8th house of shared resources, right? Of benefits and support coming through others, and it is now in this area of experience, of learning. And so there is something big to say here, that this is about you being open to supporting your own self through your own experiences, your own journey, right? Not so much leaning on others in your social environment. We have the 6 of Swords in reverse. And so there is this feeling of disharmony within yourself. There is this feeling of dis-ease at this time, as this is trying to pull you away from this superficial intellectual connection and more into a deeper, more fulfilling connection with others. This is big. This is something that is majorly going to affect all of you who have Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising, is your relationships. And with the 3 of Pentacles and the 10 of Pentacles here in reverse, once again, learning how to have a more fulfilling connection, learning how to be successful and enjoy life to the fullest, right? There's something big here that is about family, that is about relationships, that is about learning how to have that fuller, more authentic, more fulfilling connection. And this is followed by the Nine of Pentacles in reverse, which is really pulling in a moment of fear of letting go, fear of releasing these past experiences and stepping into these new experiences that are deeply fulfilling, that are of a true connection. Right? There's something big about this that is about true fulfillment in your life. And we have the Judgment card here, where it's time for you to step up and make that choice to have those experiences that are more beneficial, that serve you, that benefit you to the highest, greatest good. And so this is a major calling for you to step up in your life, for you to have this deeper experience. Right? So once again, pulling you away from the mind and pulling you into the heart in terms of your connections. And we see that here with Sagittarius in reverse. That this is wanting you to pull that experience deeper, right? To go deep within and to really fully immerse yourself into your connections and your experiences in life. And it is interesting that we have Jupiter, Uranus, and Pluto here, which are all playing a huge role in this transformation of a deeper, more fulfilling connection, right? We talked about Jupiter and Pluto retrograde sitting in your 8th house. We talked about Uranus sitting in your 12th house, really wanting you to transform and make these changes that help you grow and expand and experience more deeper, fulfilling connections. And once again, Uranus genius, wanting to pull that focus, that attention away from your mind and into your heart, right? This is pulling that change, that transformation deeper within yourself. And so there is a call for you to have these deeper connections, these deeper experiences, this deep change within you. Right? To have something that is more of value, to have something that is more consistent, more serious. Right? We talked about how Venus having this retrograde later on in Gemini is going to deepen your relationships, is going to call for you to take relationships more seriously. And we have Taurus here, which is very much about the consistency, right? About these more serious relationships. About these relationships that are of the greatest worth and value. We have Sagittarius IC in reverse. So again, pulling you away from the mind, pulling you away from this superficial connection, this intellectual connection, and wanting you to experience at a deeper level, right? And we saw this Sagittarius in reverse as we went through the previous deck, that the adventure, the experience, the journey that you are seeking, the connection that you are seeking is deep within yourself. And we're going to talk a lot about that when we get into the Venus retrograde video. We have Mercury retrograde reinvention. So once again, it is time for you to stop for a minute and take a look, especially at your relationships, right? We saw a lot of this major influence in April is hitting up your relationship areas in life. It is time for you to review this area of your life and look at the changes that need to take place, right? Reinvent your way of connecting, your way of relating, your relationships. We have solar eclipse revolution. And with this, again, this is a huge transformation that is life-changing, that is pulling you in a brand new direction. This is very, very powerful, Gemini. I want you to realize that this is a time of really deepening and having richer, more fulfilling experiences in life. Right? This is a full-on change that you cannot come back from. There is no going back. This change is an ultimate defining change that very much is about this deeper, more fulfilling experience and connection in life. And so for many of you, this is a spiritual awakening. This is a new direction in life. This is a higher spiritual connection. Right? This is a huge change that is taking place for you on a deeper level. Last card we have here is the Seven of Clubs. 7, the number of spirituality. And this club's energy of fire, of activeness, of desire, of passion. That this is time for you to move yourself on the deepest, most spiritual level. This is time to make these changes now, right? This is time for you to take action and going through these ultimate deep spiritual changes in your life. So this is huge, Gemini. So make sure that you keep an eye out for that Venus retrograde video, as this will majorly affect you in your relationships and in your values in life, as Venus retrograde and the North Node will be meeting up in your very own sign. This is huge. So once again, if you enjoyed this, feel free to leave a like as well as a comment. If you are new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell. Feel free to join the group Astro-Metaphysical Love and Light to share your spiritual wisdom, motivational advice, positive message, psychic messages, right? This is a space of love and positivity. So feel free to join the group. If you are interested in learning more about astrology, feel free to join the group Astrology Lessons with Daquan Jones to learn astrology with me. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.